listen. And we are ready. Hi, Colby.
Hello, everybody. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well, doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I was in therapy and didn't know if I was going to get here on time, but I did. I got to catch a bit of Gretchen. Yeah.
Good. So, before we jump in, Colby, share a little bit about who you are and what you do, because now we're wondering if everything's okay if you're coming out of therapy.
Oh, I am a speech language pathologist, and so I do therapy. I'm also a certified oral facial myologist, so I carry both of those. And then I am a parenting coach. So that's kind of where I am in terms of job. And so, in terms of most of us probably know what a speech language pathologist is, but as an oral certified oral facial myologist, I look at rest position of the mouth, and we want the tongue where we want the teeth, and it really helps the face grow. We are now with all the research finding out that how close ADHD and not oxygenating and breathing through your nose has to do with all of these things. So that is that whole aspect. And then I do some parent coaching to kind of get everybody kind of have a nice vision of where they're going in their future to move their children to where they would like them to be.
See, I love it. So, okay, folks. So, if you're just jumping on board or if you've been with us all morning, this is now our third or fourth speaker who is talking about vision. And so, vision has actually come up in every single one of our conversations. And so, Colby, can I just ask you, because I know people are going to be wondering about, well, wait a minute, why did you ask her as to come on board and speak about leadership? Can you talk about whether it's with the children you work with or your colleagues in the field or with parents? How does vision and leadership connect?
Um, Well, I know that we don't talk about, biblical things in schools, but even vision is mentioned in the Bible. And so how much vision is needed in where we're going. And so inspiring vision in someone really takes away the scared part of the fear, because I think fear personally, I think fear is more about thinking that you're going to not make it more than it's about can I do it. You're already doing all that negative self-talk. And really, I think as a leader, we have to get the kids around that. And yes, things are hard, but we all do hard things. And so knowing that things are going to be hard and being a leader and knowing when to push, when to pull out, when to push, when to pull out, in my opinion, is a huge part of leadership. And in role, I don't remember what Gretchen used. You guys were talking about something there in the end. Like you said, getting them to remember their vision and holding it for them until they're able to reach it. That part of your conversation, to me, that is that part. We provide direction, we instruct them, we guide them, we motivate them, and we let them step into their responsibilities so they take them over, because that is our job. You take over your responsibilities and I'll do mine.
Okay, so there's a couple of things, and this is what I wrote down for myself because you reminded me of a quote from Michael Beckworth, and I'm going to take liberties with it. So I'm not sure if it's exactly how he says it, but it's something like this: "Pain pushes us until our vision compels us." And it's a really strong quote, which kind of goes back into what you're talking about and how it connects back to leadership. Because when we have something so big that we're so passionate about, we actually lean forward, right? We lean into it. I know that's a common phrase right now, leaning in, uh, and the fear gets reduced because we're so excited, right?
And I heard once that the feeling of fear and the feeling of excitement are exactly the same if what you name it. So even with I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, when they are scared, I remind them that's the same feeling as super excited. Let's say we're super excited instead, because that it's the same nerves, it's that same, oh my God, going on a what's like a roller coaster. You're extremely excited, but holy moly, let's hope I make it onto the other end. You know what I mean? So you do it anyways. Sorry, go on.
No, no, I love it. And so here is the thing about it. So one thing you're talking about is reframing, Right? So again, when you're talking about, am I fear is a given. As a leader, right? We talk about one of the mindsets or disposition. It's about being a risk taker, right? A change agent. And so fear is going to be a given. And
Absolutely.
so knowing that,
Mhm.
how do we get to use it or becomes friends with it, right? Because isn't that what they say courage is? Courage is something like being fearful and doing it anyway.
Perseverance.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that is our job as a leader. How do we persevere? Because again, and again, I think we talked about this with Gretchen. Failure is a given, fear is a given. And how we lead them through that either makes you feel like a failure or makes you feel like, oh, yay, at least I know not to do that again. You know what I mean? They're opposite ways. They're polar opposites of exactly how you feel and which vibrational pull you're going to go with. And especially in the classroom, where, in my opinion, part of the leadership of a teacher is to not only not only give the kids ideas and to build rapport and teach them to persevere, but also to facilitate a conversation around things, even though things are hard to talk about. Joey, you get a moment to say your side, and Susie, you get a choice to say your side. We don't agree, but we listen and we say, "Ooh, I can see your point on how that could be, but I see it this way." And to be able to show the kids, even if it's he pushed me on, with our preschoolers, he pushed me on the playfield. Well, in his opinion, you stole his truck, and he's trying to. So again, teaching them to see the perspective of the other person to broaden their world, because again, we all know the frontal lobe takes some time to develop and understand those quick responses. So again, just teaching them to broaden their world. Oh yeah, this isn't only about me. There is a bigger picture here, and such a big part of leadership for me.
Okay, so let's expand that because right now we're talking about children. And yeah, as adults, we get to grow into, right? We get to develop our leadership as well. And I know when you're talking about, working with working with families, I'm sure it's a part of that is helping them develop their leadership as parents. And I know we're talking about the world of education, but I want people to realize and understand that leadership is both professional and personal. And there's a great phrase out there, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. Yeah, Kobe, you're shaking your
Oh,
head. You've heard that before.
yeah,
So
that's a good thing to live by.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about professionalism or actually leadership, which embodies professionalism and so much more. It doesn't matter if we're talking about our professional life, because it's also going to show up in our personal life. So when you're working with families and you're helping them develop their leadership, what are some of the things that you come across that's been really helpful?
Well, the thing that I find most helpful is to put people in power and to help show them where their power is. And so I'm just going to kind of talk about like enrolling your kid or getting your kid to do something they don't want to do. How do you lead them to understand that this is something you need to do? And it's going to actually make you a better person. It's going to, even though it's hard. So, um, I'm going to do two different things. So brushing teeth is often something children don't want to do. Now, if you present it to them, okay, you don't have to brush your teeth, but from now on I can only give you chicken and broccoli, because your teeth rot, and so from now on it's going to be chicken and broccoli. It took my kids one day of breakfast is chicken and broccoli to say, I don't want chicken and broccoli for breakfast. So again, it's not that I'm depriving them, I'm not getting angry, I'm showing them, if you're not going to brush your teeth, then we can't have that anymore, because again, the way in which I presented it, so you don't even have to brush your teeth. your choice. But there's things that I have to lead as a mother. Same with cleaning your room. I said to my daughter, that's your responsibility to clean your room. Don't get me wrong. Again, we guide and instruct. So that she's already been through that. She's 9. But I asked her, if I didn't clean the kitchen and didn't do my responsibility as the mother, how would you feel with your friends coming over with mice and bugs everywhere? It would be, and it's the answer is embarrassing. I don't want my friends to come over and see all that. So I have to take care of responsibilities, and so do you. So it's leading them through the understanding of we do hard things and it's not always fun, but we do them because it is our responsibility. So next little small thing, I have a little kiddo that's nonverbal, and so we're doing activities. And when the moms and dads also, I teach them, I instruct them how to be the leader in this, so they can be the therapist in their home. And the mom, when she sends me the videos, she kept allowing the child to take things from her, and I let her know, you are in control of this. It's 2 minutes I'm asking, only a 2-minute activity. But when he tries to take it, stand up. You're taller than him. So there is no, it's not you have to say, no, I'm not giving it to you. Just redirect and shift the way you're being. So the kid understands that this is an activity. This is the person in control. And this is how we give and take and have the communication with that activity.
Okay, so much there, and my little paper is like filled up with notes. So a couple of things that I wrote down was just around you talking about empowering, right? Or showing people where their power is. So, as a leader, empowering other people into their leadership, I just think this is a really great tip or strategy that I want us to think about, because sometimes it is so much easier to just tell somebody what to do.
Oh, for sure.
Right, or show them how to do it, or just give it to them. And it doesn't matter if it's with us and our children, or with us with our colleagues or staff that we work with, and helping people to understand that it what is that? I use a lot of analogies about give a man a fish and he eats dinner for a night. Teach a man to fish, right? It'll have dinner forever. And so there's up curve. So let's recognize that there is up curve in terms of empowering others or showing people where their power is. That takes time. And sometimes it is simply easier to just do it ourselves. Right? Especially again for those of us who tend to be perfectionists, and they're not going to do it my way or the right way, but yet we're doing a disservice to not only ourselves but everyone around us.
And my thing on that is you're teaching them I'm smarter than you. Don't
Mm.
teach yourself. Don't try. I'm smarter than I got it. Mm-mm. And that what kind of esteem and growth are you giving a preschooler and an elementary school kid when you I'll do it. And again, even the facial expression that goes along with that. I hate the masks at school. I'm ready for them to be gone because the facial expressions of life are so important.
Mhm.
And understanding what another kid is saying, gesturally is huge. But again, we have to be able to give these kids enough space to where failing is wanted. We want you to understand the best way to go from A to B. And the only way you learn how to do that, usually, don't get me wrong, some people learn by someone telling them just go straight, but by walking and kicking a rock and being like, "Woo, my toe, I'm not going to go that way again," and you learn almost immediately when you get that quick feedback of your toe getting stumped, or when you ask a person to, um, socially do something and it doesn't clearly communicate to them, you learn quickly, oh, I don't really think I should talk to them. We want to give those kids a way to feel like they are capable, and they are get everything they need is right here.
Absolutely. So here's where I'm going to pick it up, because we do the same thing as adults to adults. So when you talk about a lack of trust, that when we always do for someone that we're teaching them we don't trust them, the same things happen, even teacher to teacher or director to teacher or administrator, it goes down, up, and sideways. So I can't begin to tell you how many directors that I've worked with and continue to work with who keep saying, "Oh, I can't get a lot done because I have people coming into my room," and not because they're coming to check in or share, but because they need help with something, or again, maybe there's some triangulation going on, or some conflict going on among team members. And so the question we get to ask ourselves is, how have we empowered those that we work with and work around to trust themselves that they are totally capable?
I think you teach them everything you know. You don't hold back because, again, I'm going to keep this part to myself and see what I can do. No, we give, we give. So, again, there's never, I knew you were going to fail on that one. Ha ha ha. You give them all the knowledge that you have already learned, not in an arrogant way, but in a maybe you don't have to hit the again, I'm going to use the cleaning the room. When you clean a room, you can't, or even your desk. So I'm going to say clean the classroom. There is a way in which I want you to clean. I don't want you to use my gloves when you do it. I don't want you to use the best rags we have in the classroom. Tell them where not to fail, so you don't have to go back. You know what I mean? So you give them everything you know to make sure that they most likely can carry out the task.
So I wrote down clear expectations when you were
Absolutely.
writing that. All right.
Mhm.
And that's a big part of leadership, is about being very clear about what's negotiable and what is not, because we know that a lot of conflicts come up in the workplace just around that. And in standing in leadership, we get to be clear about, like you said, even if it's around, brushing your teeth for children, the same thing around us for adults. So when we come to a meeting, how do we get to behave? Right? What does contribution or engagement look like when we're sitting around the table with each other, and being very clear and concrete about that? And then the other thing you said that I wrote down was around failing, about giving people space to fail, because it's not an if, it's a when. And it's the quickest, soonest, fastest way to get to mastery.
So good. And to say to them, man, I am really excited that you figured out a way not to do it. Let's figure out a new way. So we're going to erase that math problem, because we know the way we did it that time didn't work. No big deal. Let's do it again. You know what I mean? Again, perseverance, not making a huge emotional deal out of it, and then moving forward. At the same time, and now I'm speaking more to the parents and I guess teach, especially of young children, emotion is such a ruling thing in these little people. Don't squash it. Don't squash the emotion. Live in it. So this morning I'm doing therapy, the one I just left for, and the little girl's wanting to kind of breaking down. She's whining and backing off in the chair, and the mom comes in trying to save her. And I let the mom, we're good, all good. And I let the little girl know, everybody gets mad, sweetheart. You can be mad for a minute. You don't have to talk to me. I'll wait right here. Tell me when you're ready again. You can totally be mad. You're allowed to be mad. I mean, think of in a day when your husband or wife, partner rubs you the wrong way, and you're like, "Zzz, zzz, yeah, I want to. But in other words, let me live that you hurt me for a minute, and then get over it and move forward. So allowing them to feel emotion is a really good thing, and letting them know this is all normal. It sucks when that happens. I'm sorry. Tell me when you're ready to get started again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so it's funny because one of our other speakers, Anna Alba, was just talking about that, and we talked about emotional literacy not only for children but for us as adults. And she gave us a really good stat in terms of when you speak about the emotion, or when you name the emotion, it dissipates like by 50%. So when you say I'm angry or I'm frustrated or I'm upset or I'm happy, that it actually it reduces some of the intensity around those emotions. And
Mm.
so we as adults get to feel those emotions too. In fact, that is a big disposition or mindset for leadership is uh, emotional literacy or emotional intelligence or SEL for adults. I mean, we give it so many words. And so being in leadership is again about recognizing our emotions, owning them, which is what you just said,
Mhm.
allowing yourself to sit in them, giving yourself permission to have them. Doesn't mean that you act on them, but giving yourself permission to have them, which will help you clear and re-regulate. So then you can decide, okay, where do I go from here?
Yeah. And what a beautiful gift that you're saying right there. To even to and we call these metacognitive strategies. I don't know if you guys have already been talking about that, but in your own day, in your own up in front of your students, letting them hear, I am so frustrated. I lost my glasses again. I'm going to walk around and look at them. Sorry, kids. I'm having a bit of a moment, not feeling good, but I'm going to be over it in 1 second. Here they are. Okay, everybody. Blah, 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 blah. And even when I talk to parents, I don't think a lot of parenting coaches say don't yell. I don't know how you not yell as a parent personally. I don't know. Um, so, in my opinion, own the yelling, own it. And again, oh man, I just yelled. However, I'm extremely frustrated. And let me just get this out real quick and then we'll move forward. Or do you want me to talk to you in this voice or do you want me to talk to you in this voice? Who do you want to deal with right now, buddy? Because I feel like you're not listening to me. So they see that you know how to turn it on, you know how to turn it off. You are in control of this. It's not them, the way they act or do. You're making me so mad right now. No, I'm not going to let you make me mad right now, but I'm going to tell you, you can deal with me like this or you can deal with me like this. And that's, the emotional control, like you said, of leading this right here.
See, absolutely. And again, because we're having mainly educators on the line, they're going to be like, wait a minute, we don't want people yelling in the classroom, or in with our children and families. And we absolutely agree with it. And we know that sometimes it happens.
Right. We don't
It's
want it to happen often. Totally agree.
Right? So it's not a if, it's a when. And so how do we support our teachers, our staff, even ourselves when we get angry and get frustrated? Because people are going to know, the children are going to know, our colleagues are going to know, everyone knows. And so again, and Anna and I talked about it. We didn't call it metacognition, but it certainly is out there, right? Is owning it and saying, yes, I'm frustrated right now. And when we're with the children, it's being on the other side. And I think people forget or don't realize it. And that's why they stuff or don't acknowledge the emotion is that, they think it's bad or wrong. Yet, when we own the emotion, when we speak to it and then move through it into then whatever that next transition is, like, okay, I found my glasses. Okay, let's go. We are actually teaching the children of what does it look like to move through some of these strong emotions and still behave appropriately without lashing out or, like I said, vomiting emotionally, right, on others, which is critical because children never get to see the other side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think real dialogue, and when I'm speaking to teachers, you guys know that parents are probably the hardest thing of our job, in my opinion. Again, I feel like the parents are the hardest people um, that really test us, in my opinion. And so when we show these children how to have a back and forth conversation, again, having different points of view and the parents have different points of view, or even another administrator or something, I think those conversations in front of people are more powerful to teach the children than Susie, woo, love Susie. We're best friends, and the ones that are so easy for you to feel and to have a good time with. That is an easy thing. But the harder conversations of where I'm not seeing that point of view. Can you tell me more? A good leader asks lots of questions. A good leader lets people have an opinion and validates that opinion, but still keeps their own stand.
See, I love it. So one of the things you talk about is authenticity, right? Being authentic, being authentic in who we're who we're being in that moment, and the situation. And in our previous interview with Anna, that came up in terms of that balance. And I'm looking at chat, and Lisa actually wrote in, asking some questions about that, as well as, again, we know that there's going to be some times when we're frustrated. Her question is, what happens when this is in front of the parent, and how are we as staff supposed to explain this so parents who may not be so willing understand this approach? What are
And so
your thoughts about that?
So Lisa, I just thought, if Lisa, if you don't mind, if I ask Lisa a question as well. Lisa, when you're asking, despite like everything we're talking, which part are you talking about? I'm not about having a conflict conversation. I'm confused. I'm sorry.
Not necessarily the having a conflict conversation, more about, I guess, when you talked about, I can talk to you in this way, or I can talk to you in this way.
Mhm.
Which way would you like?
So,
So if they are talking to a child in that louder, I
well,
don't know if I want to say a yelling voice or not, but like,
sure. There is the question, the clarification. Thank you. So what I'm meaning is, okay. So I'll put it more in this. You're in the classroom. Joey keeps throwing his uh, action figure toys or whatever it is that's in the classroom, and you've asked Joey to stop responsibly in a nice teacherly way. So we take Joey over and we say, Joey, you can either sit at the table or you can come play nice with your friends. Do you understand the difference? Instead of, to where we act direct and we speak directly to him, instead of, we don't throw things in the classroom, and speaking to the world and into the classroom, which I'm sure you do all day long anyways, and you
mhm,
say those things. But there comes a time when we directly speak to Joey, because Joey is still throwing his toys, and we
mhm,
speak differently to Joey in the one-on-one, because we've already said it nicely to the thing. What would I do if a parent saw me? I would explain exactly to the parent, we told him 4 times that really we don't throw toys. And so Joey is watching the other kids appropriately play with them, because at this time he wasn't playing with them appropriately. So I think it's a normal way to talk to a parent in terms of uh, informing them of how we show people the right responsibility they have over their own toys within their classroom.
mhm,
Does that make sense?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so,
Thank you.
Lisa, you're welcome. I'm going to pick up from there also, and with Colby as well, in terms of working with families. And one thing that Colby had talked about that really um, that stood out for me is also being really clear with our families about how do we approach, in this case, challenging behaviors, or how do we approach our children when they are doing things that are not appropriate, and being really clear again in our philosophy, as well as in our leadership around that. And this is where leadership comes in. And then I know, Kobe, we get to wrap it up a little bit, but this is where leadership comes in, is that really, again, owning our stance, and being very clear about our values and how we operate within our program, so that when there's a situation again, if it's Joey or whoever is throwing his toys, we've we've already taught him about consequences. And we're not saying, hey, go stick, Joey in a corner for timeout, because we know that's not appropriate. And we know that's not teaching him anything. Part of our leadership is to help him understand that right now he is not being safe, and you're welcome to come and join us, and behave in this way, right? And just being really clear about that. A parent who sees that is such a great opportunity to share the philosophy and the strategies that you just did, because it's about them understanding what you're doing and your total goal. So even with that family member who sees it, it's it's helping them to unpack what they're seeing, because when we don't, they're making stuff up, right? And we don't want them to go there. And it's like it's like going to them and saying, wow, I'm glad that you got to see that. Here's the situation, and here are the strategies that I'm using to show Joey how to behave appropriately in the room, and then invite them into partnership. What are some of the things that you do at home
And
that can be helpful?
I think Alana also makes a very good point in terms of talking to them and tell me more about why you're feeling them, and to also pull from the child. It's a beautiful point, because again, you want to know why it is they're not hearing what you're saying. So Alana, beautiful point. I totally agree with that exactly. Seeing the child for them and asking them questions and digging deeper, like you said, or like you're saying, again, being a leader is finding out what the root of the problem is and why he's throwing them. So I totally agree with that.
And let's bring it back up to adults, because allowing adults to have a voice, because a lot of times, and again, especially in education, not the only field, but in education, things are hierarchical. Things come down. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, who you're going to do it to. And this idea of a collaborative partnership, whether it's adult to a child or adult to adult, about what their thoughts are, is again empowering them, which we go full circle back to that idea, and giving them opportunities to move into or develop their leadership.
Right.
Wow, great conversation. Great conversation. And Kolby, I know you've got to run. You probably have more sessions to do today. But before you do so, and Valerie's going to drop a link into the chat for us, what are some things out there that you're doing, or how can people connect with you around some of the things that you have going on for everyone, whether it's parents or teachers or children or likewise?
Well, really, if you know of any kids with some ADHD things, I would really encourage the parents to think and watch them in terms of when they are in their classrooms and how are they breathing. What does that look like? If they're doing a lot of mouth breathing doesn't allow your organs to absorb the same amount of oxygen that nose breathing does, because the nose adds humidity and other things. And so our kids with open mouth breathing, usually we see more ADHD like symptoms. So I would have them see an ENT, talk to the parents about how those kids are breathing within the class, because it really does make a big difference on behavior. And then if any, I do a lot of oral motor in terms of getting the exercises ready for speech therapy. So we get a lot better progress because the oral articulators are all ready to do the things that they need to do to get quick, clear speech. So if for anything, my major thing is to make sure the kids are amazing communicators and that they feel their voice, and that they feel that their voice is not only powerful, but they know how to use it and they're not afraid to. So that is my major role for kids, is to make sure that they grow up and know how to communicate effectively.
I love it. And Valerie, awesome. It's the link is in the chat, so you can always click on that and it will take you right to write to Colby and her gift for us today, and reach out to her. Even if you have questions, I'm totally volunteering her. Reach out to her, even if you have questions about some of the children that you work with or your own children. She'll be glad. Again, I'm volunteering her, but she'll be glad to reach back and connect with you and see how she can support you in her work. And so, Colby, again, I just want to say thank you. I know you're super busy. You have a lot of children and family out there. I loved our conversation today about leadership and how it shows up with not only within children, but within families and ourselves as well. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the feedback, guys. I love it.
You're welcome. All
All right.
right.